Welcome to College Football Live on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Cassidy Hubbard, joined by Dusty Dvorak and Todd McShay. And guys, we've reached the midway point of the week. So as we round the corner, we're going to look ahead to week 3. But before we get to that, let's put a bow on week 2 and do a 3 and out. And Todd, let's start with the standout performance from Joe Burrow that had everyone talking, including you. You have an article on ESPN Plus right now talking about his NFL draft prospects. What did you notice from him?
He seems like a different player. I mean, last year he was just kind of hanging on and trying to manage the team. This year, it looks like he's in complete command. Dusty, I don't know what you saw, but just watching pre-snap, he understands what he's looking at. He understands what they're trying to do offensively. And then throwing the deep ball, getting the ball downfield on time, it was a complete different quarterback from the one that I saw live twice last year. I mean, this guy seems like he's in control of the offense, and if he continues to play like this, LSU's got a real shot of making waves in the national championship picture.
I'm completely with you, Todd. And this kid showed some real toughness for me. I love the highlight we're showing right there, stepping up, making that big throw. And I give Coach Eddie O a ton of credit in the seismic shift they've done offensively. You go get Joe Brady from New Orleans. You allow him to run the show. Steve Ensminger has fallen right in line. And what impressed me was that final drive. It's a 6-point game, and there's about 4 minutes left. How often do we see teams, especially LSU, go into conservative mode? They come out, they throw it on first down. They were attacking. They were aggressive. They said, we're not giving Sam Ehlinger the football back. But that takes trust in a quarterback that Joe Burrow has won from those guys. And I think the 3rd and 17 pass that he completes could be the play of the year potentially based off of what LSU does. That's a situation, you see a draw, you see a screen, but they trust Joe Burrow, and man, did it pay dividends.
Number 2 is pretty good too, by the way. Jefferson, he's unbelievable.
No question.
And to your point, Dusty, it could be the play of the year, and it could be a Heisman moment for Joe Burrow if he can keep this up as the season goes along. Now, guys, another big surprise from week 2. How about the Maryland Terps, the Fighting Scott Van Pelts? Dusty, you had a front row seat to the game. Should people be fearing the Turtle?
Absolutely they should. I was blown away. And look, Mike Locksley, got to give this guy a ton of credit. This first time as a head coach at New Mexico, it didn't go well. So what did he do? He went back to Maryland, a place that he knows very well, and then he went to Nick Saban. He went to Alabama, spent 3 years there. He learned about the process. He learned about how to assemble a staff, how to put together a practice schedule, how to get the most out of his players and his coaches. He recruits that area better than anybody in the country, and he stepped into a situation where they have players. And then he added 5 grad transfers, headlined by Josh Jackson. And I've been blown away through 2 games with what the former Virginia Tech quarterback has done. 7 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He has a great understanding of the RPO game, excellent in the intermediate routes, and being able to identify what the right play is for this offense. I also like, I don't know if you've looked at him yet, Todd. He's only a sophomore. Anthony McFarland, the running back for Maryland. He's explosive, a dynamic playmaker. I mean, this guy had 1,000 yards last year, 200 against Ohio State. He's already got 5 touchdowns. And I'm just telling you, fear the Turtle. This team is real. Penn State in 2 weeks, they better come to play in College Park.
It's explosive. That's exactly what he is. He has so much speed and quickness. I love him as a player. And I think Locksley is a perfect fit for Maryland. They needed a guy to come in and, Locksley's been through a lot in his life. And Maryland's been through a lot in the last few years. And I think that it's a perfect marriage in terms of the right guy to be the head coach of a program that needed a lot of help. And you can see it already. And there's no question there's talent there. They've recruited really well. But what I love is the fact that Locksley is kind of just getting them to play like they are and to be the young men that they are. And you come out and you put up 42 in the first half. Pretty impressive.
I mean, that offense is no joke. Meanwhile, another offense that has people on alert, but in a bad way, Michigan. They have been struggling through the first couple weeks, barely beating Army. Dusty, can Michigan fix their issues on offense?
I think they can. It's kind of the opposite of what happened to LSU. The 2 big names this offseason were Joe Brady and Josh Gaddis. And it's worked out in Baton Rouge. It hasn't in Ann Arbor. And, Shea Patterson's put up pedestrian numbers, just 410 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. But I'm going to tell you what's going to help them the most is if that offensive line can get righted, right? They're getting up 6 sacks in 2 games. They're only running it for 3.8 yards a carry. Now, they get John Runyon Jr. back, should get him back during the bye week before Wisconsin next week. They've got to right this shit, Todd, because if they don't, it could be a long season for this offense.
It's tough watching what they're trying to do. It just doesn't seem like Michigan football. And Harbaugh has tried to, he came in and it was going to be 2-3 tight ends like Stanford and all the other offenses that he's had. And now they're trying to spread it out and be very different. And that's fine. I get it. Alabama has made the transition. A lot of programs have made the transition, and I understand that you have to. It just doesn't seem like, especially short yardage, goal line, red zone, those areas, it just doesn't feel like they know exactly what they're trying to do. And it was tough to watch against an Army program that plays so hard. They're so disciplined. They're, all the things that you would expect. But you're Michigan. What are we doing? Watching that game, it was frustrating and I'm not a Michigan fan, obviously, just watching what they were trying to do. It didn't make a lot of sense to me.
To me, it's the offensive line, though. Those short yardage situations that you speak of, they've really struggled.
Got to win up front.
That has to get righted. Because Josh Gaddis was brought in. He's from Penn State under Joe Moorhead. He was at Alabama under Mike Locksley. Space and pace. That's what they wanted to do. More like Shea Patterson did at Ole Miss and in high school. But we always forget, it's not just about quarterbacks and skill players. You still got to be able to line up and move people off the football. And here through 2 weeks, Michigan's not doing that.
Yeah, and as if Harbaugh wasn't under enough heat, he has 2 weeks to prepare for Wisconsin. So if they don't show up ready, we're going to be hearing a lot about what Harbaugh is not doing there in Michigan. So they're off this weekend, but as far as the games to look forward to here in Week 3, let's run through some of them. And we start with the annual in-state Cy-Hawk between Iowa and Iowa State. Game day will be live in Ames for the first time in show history. I know Ames is fired up for that one, for sure. Now, a big week coming up for Florida State as well as they head to Charlottesville to play a ranked Virginia team. FSU barely won last week versus Louisiana Monroe and are 1-5 in their last 6 ACC road games. And then number 1 Clemson will make the trip to upstate New York to play Syracuse. The Orange beat the Tigers in the Carrier Dome in 2017 and almost defeated them in Death Valley last year. Head coach Dabo Swinney acknowledging the Tigers need to be better.
We got a lot to prove every week. I mean, we didn't leave any doubt when we went up there 2 years ago. There was no doubt. They beat our butt.
Well, of all the teams in the AP Top 10 this week, 7 of them are favorites by at least 15 points, according to Caesar Sportsbook. Now, with all the lopsided matchups, this is the first week since Week 7 of 2017 without a ranked matchup. Now, what happened that weekend? 7 ranked teams lost, 5 lost as favorites, including 3 as favorites of 16-plus points. So with that being said, guys, Dusty, which top 25 team do you think should be on upset alert this week?
It's not a huge upset, but I'm going back to Ames, Iowa. Look, I think Matt Campbell's group is legit. Okay, Brock Purdy changed the season a year ago whenever he was inserted as the starting quarterback. And that defense under John Heacock, they're for real. They got players at all 3 levels. Now, in the opener against Northern Iowa, they didn't play well. They almost lost to an FCS school. But they've had 2 weeks to prepare for their in-state rival. Matt Campbell's had a lot of success against recurring teams, except Iowa and Texas has yet to beat them. He's 0-3 against them with Iowa with a 4-game winning streak. I think this is the week that Iowa State breaks the streak and they get a big victory against the solid Hawkeyes team.
I could see it. I think Penn State is another game to watch. Pitt they're just always tough. They always show up in big games like this. Obviously, in-state rival. I would keep an eye on that. And I also, maybe just me trying to promote a game that I have, but Kentucky, Florida is another one to watch. We're going to be down there, Steve Levy, Brian Greasy, Molly McGrath, and I. Florida, to me, is a team that all the time, it's always about the offense. Kentucky's got a lot of talent, even though that they lost a lot of players to the NFL. But I think that's going to be an interesting one to watch. So Pitt, Kentucky, 2 teams to watch this weekend.
I'm with you on the Kentucky one. Cavassier Smoke, a great name and a player to watch in that game. And I'll give you one more. Friday night, I love Mike Leach in Washington State, but his former player and a coach underneath him at Houston and Dana Holgorsen, watch out for the Cougars taking on Washington State on Friday night in Houston.
That's not a shameless plug. That's just, informing the people of what they need to see. Dusty, you got UCF and Stanford. Yes, exactly. Just now you know. Now you know to watch these two stars even more this weekend. You should also be watching ABC on Saturday night. Again, 2 years ago, Cuse pulled off a major upset over then number 2 Clemson in the Dome. That was the Tigers' last regular season loss. Will it come full circle? Find out Saturday, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on ABC and the ESPN app. Coming up, what has Alabama all hot and bothered, and why the Iron Bowl jabs may have already started? We'll explain when College Football Live returns.
We all know where we were for 9/11. We were all reeling. And we were all so horrified. And we were mourning. We still are, to some extent. And the NCAA was meeting, and the SEC was meeting to determine whether or not to play the games. ESPN had determined they better not put anybody on an airplane. So ESPN's instructions were, Curry, you get ready to be the analyst for Southern Mississippi versus Alabama in Birmingham, and you drive over there. So I'm on my way to Birmingham, and I stopped in Attalla, Alabama. And this nice filling station guy, he recognized me. He said, Coach, are they going to play these games this weekend? I said, I don't know. But if the cell phone that I got in my pocket here rings while I'm in your station, you may be the first fan in America to find out. So sure enough, my phone rang. And I was told, go home. So I walked back up to the front, and I tell this nice guy, well, we're not going to play. And I'll never forget his response to me. He leaned forward, and his eyes bugged out, and his jugulars popped up. And he said, well, let me tell you something, Coach. In Attalla, Alabama, come Friday night, we're going to play football, because it means a lot to us. I thanked him, walked out, started driving home, and I was so distraught. Asked God to help me understand this thing. Why would somebody think it was important to play a football game on Friday night in Attalla, Alabama? I mean, why does it matter in Pueblo, Colorado? Or Oklahoma City, Oklahoma? Or upstate New York? And it came to me, it's the huddle. It's the huddle, because you can't step in the huddle anymore and be a racist. You can't step in the huddle and say, I'm not playing with that guy, he's a Muslim. You can't do that, because everybody's welcome in that huddle. And what happens in the stands in Attalla, Alabama, in College Park, Georgia, and all across the nation on Friday night? When somebody's child scores a touchdown, everybody hugs. They don't stop to see what color this pigmentation is. I'm not hugging you because, no, you hug because your team just did something. And that huddle is emblematic of what America could be. It brings the community together in ways that the rest of our culture has not arrived at.
You better show up for that. About ACC football, it's here. Visit getaccn.com to check for providers in your area. If you don't see yours listed, contact them to demand they carry ACC Network. All right, guys, we got to get to this story. Alabama's administration isn't pleased that the September 21st football game against Southern Mississippi will be played at 11 a.m. local time, where temperatures are routinely in excess of 90 degrees this time of year. Alabama University President Student Arbel and Athletic Director Greg Byrne released this statement. We are disappointed that our game against Southern Miss has been selected as a daytime kickoff at home. We realize we played more non-conference day games at home in September than any other SEC team since 2014. There have been a number of conversations with our conference office, and they also recognize the challenges these kick times present for our student athletes and fans. Now, while we're on the topic of kick times, Auburn head coach Gus Malzahn had his own remarks.
Our guys are excited to be back home for our second home game, playing a very solid Kent State team, 6 p.m. kick. Personally, I wish it was at noon. We'd have more time to prepare for our next opponent.
Now, okay, Gus had a straight face there, but Dusty, is he taking a jab at Bama?
Shots fired. I love it. Getting the rivalry going already. Listen, man, I've been listening for 3 years now. Coaches on the West Coast complain about late kicks. They want earlier kicks. Now we've got coaches in the Central Time Zone. They want later kicks. Like, if it's a 2:30 kick, how much hotter is it then? In Texas on Saturday night at 6 o'clock, it was still hot. It's September. In certain states, it's going to be hot. I think at this point, people complain just to complain.
I agree with you. I mean, listen, that clearly was a shot back at Alabama. There's no question about it. You would never disrespect an opponent like that. You know that from any coach in the country. I also think when you start to listen to some of these coaches, and I hear the same thing. And I was just out at USC Stanford, and they didn't like the fact they were playing 10:30 Eastern time. And they want to play, everyone wants to play prime time ABC every single week. We just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, what does Alabama want, Todd? They don't want noon games. They want 4 Eastern.
The only thing I'll say is I do understand the temperature, and they're using that though, saying we care so much about our players and we want to make sure that they're 94 degrees and all of that. That's not really the reason. They want to be again 7 o'clock ABC. That's it.
But football's been played in Alabama.
That's exactly right. I mean, I hear it all over the place, Cassidy. I'm telling you, in Oklahoma, they don't like playing 11 a.m. either. And it's also local merchants, right? Because the later in the day it is, the more tailgating goes on, the more people can get out and about in the town and spend their money. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'll be honest, as a player, I like the 11 a.m. kick. I hated sitting around the hotel room all day long having to wait. I'm like, let's get up, let's kick the football, let's play, and then I can enjoy the rest of the day of college football.
Okay, while we're on ridiculous stories, got to get to this. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has issued an initial decision on Ohio State's attempt to trademark the word "the," not the. They have refused the application, this according to our Darren Ravel. Todd, you got some feelings about this. Your thoughts?
I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing? The? You can't trademark the. It's insane to me. I mean, I understand it, the Ohio State, but come on. What are they? And then they're going to try to appeal it. You know they will, right?
Yes, this is still ongoing.
Thank you so we can all have some sanity here. Sometimes we try to get the courts to do too much. I'm glad that somebody stepped in and said this ain't happening. Not up in here. Good call by the trademarking office.
Now, it is just the initial attempt has been refused, so we haven't heard the last of this. While we're wrapping up here on College Football Live, Dusty, Todd was able to kind of, promo his game. What are you looking out for in Stanford UCF this weekend?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Cassidy. I'm going to be in Orlando this weekend with Olivia Decker on the sidelines and chop it up with my man Mark Jones up in the booth. But, this is a huge stage for UCF to really against a marquee program, a brand name, if you will, in Stanford, who's got to travel all the way across the country to play a really good, fast, talented
What in the
UCF,
world are they doing
Knights
playing in UCF?
I don't know. You tell me, Todd, but I'm going to tell you this. Watch out for the Gabriels, okay? There's a wide receiver, Gabriel Davis, who people need to learn about. You're going to watch him on tape, Todd. I'm telling you, one of the better receivers in all of college football, and they've got a young quarterback, a lefty from Hawaii. Watch out. This UCF team, it's for real.
Just because there's no ranked games this weekend doesn't mean there's not going to be fun. I have a feeling this may be one of the more chaotic weekends in college football. I'll be updating you guys all day on ABC. I had to get my plug in, too. Also, make sure to download the podcast wherever you can get podcasts. College Football Live. See ya.